Mr. Barman, tell us about yourself.
I graduated from UW Richland with my associate's degree. I'm currently attending UW La Crosse and will be getting my bachelor's in teaching. And I'm hoping to be teaching at a high school level for biology.
Why do you want to teach?
I want to give students a love for the sciences and the same education that I got growing up, where I had some fantastic teachers.
Why do you want to work at this school district?
I like the town and the community. It's a smaller size, so I know the parents will be a little bit more involved. There's not as many students at the school. It's a smaller town. I'm not a fan of the big cities, so I'll be able to know my students at a more personal level.
You mentioned you want to teach sciences before. What grade level would you?
I would like to teach high school environmental science, biologies. Any of the high school levels will be fine.
What would you consider to be your strongest attributes as a teacher?
Um, my love for science, I believe, is my strongest attribute. I've always had a passion to explore and learn about the world, and I would love to share that passion with the students and get them as involved in the sciences as I am.
What would you consider to be your weakness?
Developing a curriculum. I've always had trouble writing out what I'm going to be doing and sticking to a plan. I might get sidetracked pretty easy with the sciences.
What is your philosophy of education?
My philosophy of education would be more one-on-one time with students and teachers. So smaller class sizes would allow a teacher to become more familiar and used to the students and allow for a better education, in my opinion.
What are the most important learning outcomes you want your students to achieve?
I want them to, first of all, to be able to keep up with the state standards and pass the exams. But also I want them to develop a love for the science and to understand and accept the world around them.
What skills and experience do you have in employing cooperative learning strategies or computers for instructional purposes?
In my student teaching, I worked with a couple classes, and we had a online website that we were creating for their project, where each group would create their own little website, and they would just put all of their information on there, and they'd work together to create a project online so that they could share it with their parents and the teacher.
How would you motivate unmotivated learners?
Um, I'd try and figure out what motivates them. If there are different types of learners, so if this person is a hands-on learner, I would try to have more hands-on materials and labs and get out of the classroom a little more or something. Um, if they're a listener or a reader, I try to put in some reading that they could do, or stand in front of the class and just talk to them if that's what motivates them.
What would you do to involve the parents of the students?
I'd send out frequent letters and emails to the parents to try to keep them informed on what their students doing in the classroom and how their students performing. I might also send home some assignments that the students can work on with their parents, small projects, so that the parents can feel involved in what the student is doing and get them more used to and understanding of what the class is teaching.
How would you or what would you do to individualize your teaching?
I've had a lot of teachers in the past that use a PowerPoint presentation, and I've always been a fan of the PowerPoints. The student or the teacher will stand in front of the class and read from the PowerPoint, but also express their own opinions and go off on little side notes on each of the slides. So you get a feel of the teacher as well. But I always felt it was a little too non-interactive. So I would try to use a PowerPoint, similar idea, but I would try to incorporate more interaction with the students so that the students didn't get as easily lost in a PowerPoint and they can get more hands-on with the class.
What is your grading philosophy?
My grading philosophy has to stay fair. That's the most important part. No student can get favored over the other ones. But the grading needs to be kept up with school standards, and it does need to be a little bit strict.
Now we're going to talk about your classroom management. What rules for students would you establish in your classroom?
My rules would be simple. I wouldn't want too many rules or too complex rules so that the students have to try and remember too much. I'd keep it simple, like be respectful, don't talk while the teacher is talking, and be willing to share with the rest of the class, but keep everything respectful among each of the students.
How would you enforce these rules?
I was thinking of creating a point system where each student would start off with 10, 15 points or something, and each time they break a rule, they lose a point from this. Some rules that are broken would be worth more. If I caught a student cheating, I might take off half their points right away so that they only have half their points left, and if they're caught cheating again, then they get a more severe punishment or drop from the class, or failure in the class, or something along those lines. But each time they'd break a rule, I might take one of the points off, so then they'd be at 9 out of 10, and at the end of the year, they only get that many points added to their grade. So it's incentive to not break the rules, and it allows them to have a few screw-ups without having too many consequences.
So you give the students only 10 points over the whole year?
I might divide it up by quarters, so they get 10 points again at the beginning of each quarter or semester.
Okay. Oh, now we're going to talk about your professional responsibilities as a teacher.
Okay.
How do you plan to keep growing as a professional?
I've always wanted to attend some seminars, teaching seminars. I've never been to one of those. I'd like to see what they're about, maybe learn some new information from them. But classrooms aren't just for teaching the students. The teachers learn a lot there as well. I could learn different methods of teaching from other teachers, or as I'm teaching a class, I can learn what works, what doesn't work. I learn just as much from the students as they learn from me.
Mr. Barman, would you be willing to add extra responsibilities to your job?
I'd be willing to coach or be a leader for an after-school club.
What would you be willing to coach?
I have experience as a track. I was in track during my high school, so I could coach that.
And what clubs would you be willing to manage?
Whatever needs help.
All right, so we're actually just going to give you the track head coach position.
Okay, thank you.
And also we have a club opening for a science club opening. Would you be willing to do that?
I would love to.
Okay, you wouldn't be the head right away, but you would also you'd be the head within the next semester because it continues out through the full year.
Okay.
All right. Now I've got a couple of scenarios that I want to hear your responses about. As you said before, going back to your point system of losing half the points caught cheating, if you didn't have your point system, what would you do if you caught a student cheating?
First, I would try not to draw too much attention to the student. I don't want to disrupt the rest of the class if they're taking an exam. So I would wait till some of the students are done, or I would try to draw the student to the back of the classroom where most of the attention isn't. And I would take the student and their exam to the back of the classroom, and I would tell them that they are going to be getting a zero on the exam, and I would send a letter or an email home to their parent telling them that I caught them cheating on an exam.
Now, I have one last question for you, and then we'll dismiss you from the interview.
Okay.
If our school district had unlimited funding, how would you improve the education?
I've always wanted to see smaller class sizes, smaller rooms, and more teachers in each classroom instead of just one. It would be very beneficial to the students to have 2 teachers in a classroom, so that a classroom of 20 wouldn't have 20 students to 1 teacher. It would be 10 students to 1 teacher, and you'd get a lot more one-on-one time with the teacher to ask them questions, to try and get more comfortable with the material and to learn better.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barber. We have your contact information.
Thank you.